Hello, my name is Tawan Gordon, and my primary source analysis is on Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. The story of Frankenstein is about the scientist Frankenstein and his desire to create life and the creation of his monster, which will then for on be called Frankenstein's monster. The creature has has a feature that Frankenstein does not agree with, so he goes on to abandon it, and the creature is left to fend for itself. The creature hates Frankenstein for this and goes on to ruin his life, and Frankenstein goes on to try to ruin the creature's life. And in the end of the story, they both destroy each other. The book Frankenstein gives us a window into gives us a window not only into the ability of Mary Shelley, but also into many of the fears of 19th century Europe. I will go over two of these fears with evidence from many texts, from the text and from source materials. The first fear of the 19th century that I will go over is the fear of science, the fear of knowledge unbounded and unrestrained by religion or sense. The first quote that I will use to make my point in this is, it was it's this quote from the novel. It was very different. It was very different when the masters of science sought immortality and powers. Such views, although futile, were grand, but now the scene was changed. You, as you can see, there's a belief in the degradation of science, or natural philosophy as it was called at the time, and this was a wide belief that science needed to be restrained or held back. And if it was not, then things for society would get very hectic, and then humanity would lose its soul, as it were. Another quote from the novel: "Learn from me, if not by my precepts, at least from my example, how dangerous is the acquirement of knowledge, and how much happier that man is who believes his native town to be the world than he who aspires to become greater than his nature would allow." So that quote is from Frankenstein's narration of his story. So this is a very widely held belief that sometimes knowledge can be very dangerous, and sometimes some things are better left unknown and unexplored, and some people should just know their place, which was a very common idea in 19th century Europe at the time, that some people had a specific place in society and they should not try to go past that place. And if they did try to go past their place, then society would break down, and things for everybody would just get immensely worse. So the fear of science was perhaps one of the more understated fears, but it was also one of the biggest fears that no one talked about, because the reason that no one talked about it is because no one wanted to acknowledge the effect that this new science had on their lives. So that was definitely one of the biggest fears at the time that no one acknowledged. Another great fear of 19th century Europe was the fear of unruly children, especially by middle class persons. The unruly children would just be the downfall of them, because the children were expected to take their estate and advance the family. So if a child was unruly, then then they would be ruined. So we can see this fear, like the unruly child in Frankenstein is expressed in Frankenstein's creature. You see in how Frankenstein just abandons him. You can see how society thought about how, like, if a child was abandoned by its child, it was rejected by its parents. If it was rejected soundly, then that child will go on to be a horrible person, like the creature goes on to be, and then it would go on to be a hateful thing, and then it would ruin everything for everybody else, like Frankenstein's creature does in the book. And here I will espouse two quotes about this fear of unruly children, about how Frankenstein has abandoned his duty as basically a father to the creature they created. And yeah, yet you, my creator, detest and spurn me, thy monster whom thou art bound by ties only dissoluble by annihilation of one of us. So basically, the creature is saying that since Frankenstein created him and then abandoned him, he will ruin his life because he made him the way that he is. Yet another of the first results of those sympathies for which the daemon thirsted would be children, and the faith of devils would be propagated upon the earth. So Frankenstein is talking about the creature's desire for a bride and how he will not fulfill that request because he fears that the children that he made from that the creature would make from this creation of Frankenstein would ruin the world. So like that's another fear of children unbounded. So Frankenstein was a very important novel, not only because of its creation of just the genre of science fiction, but also because of how it expressed the fears of its current time and place. And that's why Frankenstein is studied even till today because of how important it was, not only of how important it is now to analyze the fears of 19th century Europe. So that's my primary source analysis of Frankenstein. And my name is Dewan Gordon. Thank you.